The queen said, "Divorce my daughter, human." But she refused to let me go. Marcus had lived among the stars for longer than he cared to remember. As a human diplomat, he had traveled to countless planets, negotiated with species that could breathe fire, walk through walls, or communicate purely through thought. Yet, nothing he had faced in all his years of service prepared him for the summons he received that morning. The message had arrived as a crystal shard glowing with soft blue light, pulsing in time with some unknown rhythm. When he opened it, the words were simple and commanding. The Zythurian queen demanded his presence in the royal palace at once. No explanation, no courtesies, just a summons. He stood in his small quarters aboard the starship that had brought him to the orbit of Zythuria, trying to calm his nerves. Marcus was not an easily frightened man. He had faced hostile alien warlords, navigated asteroid storms, and survived sabotage attempts on his own ship. But the Queen of Zythuria was different. She was a legend. Towering in stature, her skin shimmered with subtle metallic hues, her eyes reflecting the knowledge of centuries, and her mind was said to rival the galaxy's most advanced quantum computers. To meet her was an honor, but also a trial. Marcus took a deep breath, adjusted his uniform, and prepared himself for whatever awaited him. He had married Lyra, the queen's only daughter, a year ago. Their relationship had started as cautious curiosity, with cultural protocols and formalities guiding every interaction. Over time, trust grew into genuine affection. Lyra admired human adaptability, their resilience and creativity, while Marcus had been drawn to her intelligence, courage, and warmth. Their marriage was unusual in the eyes of both humans and Zythurians, but it was built on respect, understanding, and shared experience. The palace was unlike any place Marcus had ever seen. From orbit, it appeared as a sprawling network of floating spires connected by beams of light. As he entered the main gates, the guards, clad in armor that seemed alive with flowing energy, acknowledged him with silent nods. The corridors were lined with walls that shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting light in complex patterns. Sounds of distant machinery hummed softly beneath the palace, and alien flora, carefully tended, glowed faintly, giving the air a dreamlike quality. Marcus walked with measured steps, every sense alert, aware that the eyes of the Empire might be on him. Finally, he was led into the throne room. The chamber was massive, domed, and filled with soft floating lights that adjusted to his movement. At the center, the queen sat on a throne carved from a single massive crystal, its facets catching the light in thousands of rainbows. She looked smaller than the stories suggested, but her presence was immense. Every detail of her posture, the tilt of her head, the focus of her gaze, spoke of authority that brooked no challenge. "Marcus of Earth," the queen said, her voice both musical and commanding, "I have summoned you here for an urgent matter concerning my daughter Lyra." Marcus bowed respectfully, careful to meet her eyes. "Your Majesty," he said, "I am at your service. How may I assist you?" The queen's expression remained unreadable. She motioned with one elegant hand, and a hovering display materialized in front of her. It showed images of Lyra with Marcus, moments from their marriage, and scattered records of human interactions across Zythuria. Marcus could see the subtle undertones. The queen was assessing every detail, every choice he had made since becoming part of this family. "You have married my daughter," the queen said, her gaze sharp. "You have lived among us, yet I have learned things about your species that make me question the wisdom of this union." She paused, letting her words hang in the charged air. "I demand that you divorce my daughter immediately." Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him, though he remained outwardly calm. He had anticipated skepticism, political objections, perhaps even disapproval, but a direct order to end his marriage was unprecedented. "Your Majesty," he began carefully, "my marriage to Lyra is founded on mutual respect and trust. I cannot simply dissolve it because of concerns based on rumors or distant politics. The queen's eyes narrowed. This is not merely about trust or affection, human. Prophecies have long guided Zythurian rulership. There are predictions that a human, if aligned with my daughter, could bring instability, perhaps even ruin. Furthermore, some of my advisors warn that your species' ambitions may threaten the balance of our empire. I cannot allow this. Marcus studied her for a moment, recognizing the weight of her fears. The queen was not merely reacting emotionally. She was considering the long-term stability of her civilization. Yet he knew that fear should not dictate actions that affected the lives of innocent individuals. With all due respect, Your Majesty, Lyra and I have already proven that our union is a strength, not a weakness. Together we have solved problems, bridged gaps between our peoples, and shown loyalty to Zythuria. We do not seek to destabilize your empire, we seek to enhance it. The queen leaned forward slightly, and Marcus felt the intensity of her scrutiny. Words alone are not enough. I require action, not speech. If you will not comply with my command, you must understand the consequences. Marcus nodded slowly. He had faced consequences before, but this was different. Here it was not a battle of strength or technology. It was a test of character, loyalty, and wisdom. I understand, Your Majesty, he said calmly, but I cannot betray Lyra. I cannot betray the bond we share. If there are tests, I am willing to face them. But divorce is not an option. The queen's eyes glimmered with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Few humans had ever spoken with such composed defiance, especially in her presence. She studied him in silence, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. Very well. We shall see if your loyalty can withstand the trials I will set before you. Know this, the galaxy is watching, and the path you choose will have consequences far beyond this chamber. Marcus bowed again, signaling his acceptance of the challenge. As he turned to leave, he felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. He would not abandon Lyra. He would prove that a human's courage, integrity, and ingenuity were worthy of trust and respect, even in a civilization as advanced and cautious as Zythuria. Outside the throne room, Marcus walked through the palace halls, each step echoing in the high ceilings. He thought of Lyra and the life they had built together, of the quiet moments in their quarters, of the laughter and discussions they shared under alien stars. He knew that the trials ahead would not only test him, but also their relationship. Yet, he also knew that humans had always thrived in the face of challenges that seemed impossible. Resourcefulness, empathy, and courage were traits that had allowed them to survive and grow, even in the harshest environments. He found Lyra waiting for him in the palace gardens, a serene space filled with plants that glowed faintly and walked on their own, tending to each other like living caretakers. Her eyes lit up when she saw him, but she immediately noticed the tension in his posture. They summoned you, she said softly. I can feel it. Marcus nodded. Yes, the queen demands I divorce you. Lyra's expression did not falter. She reached for his hand, her touch steadying him. Then we will not comply. This is our life. They may challenge us, but we will face it together. He felt a surge of relief and admiration. Lyra's calm strength bolstered him. Together, they began to plan. Not a battle, not a rebellion, but a demonstration of unity, wisdom, and courage that could prove to the queen that their bond was not a threat but a powerful asset to her empire. They would call upon allies, loyal ministers, and even the technological experts within the palace. Every plan would be precise, every action measured. Their goal was not only to protect their marriage, but to show that the combination of human ingenuity and Zythurian tradition could create something stronger than either alone. As night fell over the palace, Marcus and Lyra walked among the glowing flora, plodding quietly, their minds sharp and their resolve unwavering. Marcus understood that the path ahead would be filled with challenges, scrutiny, and tests. Yet he also knew that he had never faced a challenge more meaningful, more important. The Queen's demand was not the end, it was the beginning. In the silent corridors of the palace, the hum of energy and soft whispers of the lights seemed almost to watch them, waiting to see if a human could rise to meet the trials of an empire. Marcus squared his shoulders, his mind clear. He would face whatever came. Not because he was unafraid, but because he had a reason stronger than fear. Love, honor, and the belief that humans could rise to greatness, even among the stars. And somewhere deep in the palace, the queen watched, her expression unreadable but her mind already calculating. The games had begun, and in her mind, Marcus was now more than a diplomat. He was a player in a test that could define the future of Scythuria itself. The palace gardens were alive with a quiet luminescence that made the night feel almost dreamlike. Alien plants waved softly as if greeting Marcus and Lyra, while delicate, floating lights traced intricate patterns above them. Marcus could feel the weight of the Queen's command lingering in his mind, but seeing Lyra there, calm and composed, reminded him why he could not waver. "We have to be careful," Lyra said, her voice steady. "The Queen is not just testing you, Marcus. She is testing us, our bond, our judgment, our ability to work together." Marcus nodded. "I know, but I believe we can prove to her that we are not a threat, that our marriage strengthens her empire rather than endangers it." He looked around at the glowing flora, the soft hum of energy in the background, and felt a renewed determination. "We need a plan. Not confrontation, not defiance for its own sake, but a demonstration of trust, unity, and competence." Lyra smiled faintly, impressed by his clarity. "Then we start by gathering allies. There are ministers who respect your wisdom, scientists who have long admired your problem-solving skills, and soldiers who trust both of us. If we approach this carefully, we can create a demonstration that even the Queen cannot dismiss." Marcus agreed. They began their quiet work in the palace's hidden chambers, consulting holographic records and communicating discreetly with loyal Scythurian advisors. Each discussion was precise, each strategy carefully considered. Marcus brought human ingenuity to the table, methods of risk assessment, coordination, and diplomacy that were novel to the Scythurians. Lyra added her intimate knowledge of palace politics, the subtleties of her mother's expectations, and the inner workings of the empire. Together, they formed a plan that was as elegant as it was effective. The first step was to address a growing tension in the outer colonies. Reports indicated that small uprisings were beginning, fueled by factions who opposed their marriage. These rebels believed that the union between a human and the Scythurian princess threatened their traditions and ambitions. Marcus and Lyra decided to act not with force, but with precision and foresight. They would send emissaries, deliver resources, and personally oversee solutions to disputes, demonstrating leadership and fairness. Marcus found himself fascinated by the methods Lyra suggested. Scythurian society valued harmony and foresight, and every action had to consider its ripple effects across the empire. Humans, on the other hand, often thrived on improvisation and rapid problem-solving. Combining these approaches created strategies that were both flexible and enduring. As they worked, Marcus noticed a subtle shift in the palace itself. The living crystals seemed to react to their presence, pulsing more brightly when they discussed solutions that promoted unity, as if the palace itself acknowledged the wisdom of their partnership. One evening, as they reviewed reports from the colonies, Lyra turned to Marcus. "I have been thinking about the Queen's test," she said. "She wants to see proof that your loyalty is more than words, that you can act decisively under pressure without sacrificing integrity or wisdom. I believe she will present you with a trial soon." Marcus considered this. He had faced many trials in his life, but never one so personal and so public. "Then we prepare," he said simply. "Not just for me, but for us. We cannot fail, not because of fear, but because we have something worth protecting. The next morning they began visiting the outer colonies. Marcus, dressed in the traditional Zythurian envoy robes, moved with quiet authority. He listened to complaints from local leaders, offered solutions, and showed an unusual level of empathy that surprised even those who were wary of humans. Lyra accompanied him, providing context and reassurance. Their combined presence became a symbol of unity, a living demonstration that a human and a Zythurian could work side by side for the benefit of all. In one colony, a water shortage threatened to escalate into civil unrest. Marcus immediately coordinated efforts to repair the aqueduct system, using a combination of human engineering techniques and Zythurian energy manipulation. Lyra mediated discussions between local leaders, ensuring that resources were distributed fairly and that no one faction felt overlooked. By the end of the day, water flowed again, and tensions eased. Word of their success traveled quickly, carried by travelers, traders, and the ever-present network of Zythurian communication channels. Each colony they visited presented new challenges. In one, a disease outbreak among livestock threatened the food supply. Marcus proposed a method to purify water and distribute nutrients efficiently, while Lyra oversaw the quarantine measures. The solution not only prevented a famine, but also demonstrated their ability to combine human practicality with Zythurian foresight. In another colony, a dispute between two powerful merchant families threatened trade routes. Marcus mediated, offering compromise solutions grounded in logic and fairness, while Lyra ensured that the settlement respected cultural traditions. As they worked, Marcus noticed subtle changes in Lyra. She seemed more confident, more willing to trust his judgment in public matters, and more open to human approaches she had once considered unconventional. Marcus felt a deep sense of pride, not for himself, but for the partnership they had built, and for the impact they were having on the empire. He also felt a quiet reassurance that they were not alone. Loyal ministers and advisors had joined their cause, lending their knowledge and support. Slowly, they were weaving a network of influence and goodwill that strengthened their position and made it increasingly difficult for the queen to dismiss them outright. Back at the palace, the queen observed their actions through the palace's surveillance system, a network that allowed her to see and hear events in every corner of her realm. Marcus and Lyra's successes did not go unnoticed, yet she remained cautious. The queen had long known that love and loyalty could be powerful tools, but she also understood that humans were unpredictable. She watched their strategies, assessed their methods, and considered the broader consequences for her empire. Her advisors, who had initially pushed for Marcus to be removed from Lyra's life, began to hesitate, recognizing the tangible benefits of their partnership. Despite their progress, challenges persisted. Rumors of rebellion and dissent continued to surface. Some factions were unwilling to accept a human in a position of influence, viewing Marcus as an outsider who could never truly understand Zythurian values. Marcus knew that these groups could attempt to undermine their work at any moment. But he also knew that fear could not dictate their actions. Instead, he focused on solutions, innovative, practical, and ethical solutions that demonstrated not only his skill, but the unique strengths of humanity. One evening, after a long day of travel and meetings, Marcus and Lyra returned to the palace gardens. The air was filled with the scent of glowing flowers, and the soft hum of energy from the palace walls created a sense of calm. They walked side by side, reflecting on the day's successes and discussing plans for the challenges that lay ahead. "We are making a difference," Lyra said, her eyes bright. "People are starting to see that we are not a threat, that we can work together for the good of the empire." Marcus smiled. "Yes, and the queen will see it too. Actions speak louder than words." She may challenge us further, but every problem we solve, every life we protect, strengthens our position and proves that our bond is valuable." Lyra nodded. "And we will face whatever comes next together. That is the most important thing." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert from the palace communication system. A small rebellion had erupted in one of the outer mining colonies. The situation was escalating quickly, and the local governor requested immediate assistance. Marcus and Lyra exchanged a glance, their resolve hardening. They would not hesitate. Without a word, they began organizing resources, coordinating with loyal troops, and preparing for the journey. The trip to the mining colony was tense. Marcus analyzed reports, mapped out the terrain, and anticipated potential challenges. Lyra communicated with the local population, assuring them that help was on the way and that their concerns would be addressed fairly. Upon arrival, they found that a faction of miners had taken control of a central energy hub, threatening to disrupt power distribution across multiple colonies. Marcus quickly assessed the situation and devised a plan that minimized risk to civilians while addressing the rebels' grievances. Lyra played a critical role in negotiations. Her calm demeanor and careful choice of words helped to de-escalate tensions, while Marcus coordinated a series of tactical maneuvers to regain control of the energy hub without violence. Within hours, the crisis was resolved. Power was restored, the rebels were integrated into productive work, and the local population expressed gratitude for the human and Zythurian leadership that had handled the situation so effectively. As they returned to the palace, Marcus reflected on the day's events. The challenges had been immense, yet their combined efforts had produced results that were undeniable. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction, not from personal achievement, but from the knowledge that they were proving the value of human qualities, empathy, ingenuity, and courage, in a galaxy that often underestimated them. Lyra looked at him, her expression softening. "The Queen may continue to test us, Marcus, but every day, every challenge we overcome strengthens our bond and shows her that we are capable, that together we are a force for good." Marcus squeezed her hand. "And no matter what she asks, we will face it together. We will not be divided, not by fear, not by politics, and not by tradition." As the stars shimmered above Zythuria that night, Marcus and Lyra stood together in the palace gardens, united in purpose and resolve. The trials ahead were uncertain, and the Queen's judgment still loomed over them like a shadow. But they had taken the first steps toward proving that their partnership, human and Zythurian, husband and wife, was not only valid but vital. In the quiet of the glowing gardens, they found strength in each other, knowing that together they could face any challenge, overcome any test, and shape the future of an empire. The morning light poured through the crystal windows of the palace, scattering rainbows across the floor. Marcus awoke with a sense of tension in his chest that had become familiar over the past weeks. The Queen's demands and the subtle pressure of her trials weighed on him, yet he also felt a quiet resolve. He knew that the next step in her plan would be the most difficult. Lyra was already awake, tending to the small, luminescent plants in their quarters. Her presence was calming, a reminder that no matter what the Queen demanded, they faced it together. Marcus watched her for a moment, admiring her poise and quiet strength. "Do you think she will test me today?" he asked. Lyra looked up and smiled faintly. "I am certain she will. The Queen is patient, but she knows you must prove yourself. It will not be easy, Marcus, but you are ready." They walked through the palace corridors toward the throne room. The air was thick with the subtle hum of energy that powered the palace, and the walls seemed to glow in anticipation. As they entered the chamber, the Queen was waiting, her expression unreadable. Her advisors, a council of Zythuria's most intelligent and cautious minds, observed silently from their elevated seats. "Marcus," the Queen said, her voice clear and commanding, You have demonstrated initiative in the colonies and shown loyalty to my daughter. Yet loyalty must be proven under pressure. You will now face the first test." She gestured, and the chamber transformed. The walls shifted, revealing a vast hall that seemed endless. The floor was smooth, reflective, and unbroken. A faint hum filled the room as illusions began to appear. The queen's eyes glimmered with calculated intensity. "These are visions of the failures of your species," she explained. "You will see humanity's mistakes, wars, betrayals, misjudgments, and disasters. You must navigate this hall, confronting each illusion. If you falter, the consequences will extend beyond yourself." Marcus understood immediately. This was not a physical challenge, it was mental and emotional. Each vision was designed to shake confidence, instill fear, and force doubt. He inhaled deeply, focusing on steadying his mind. Lyra reached out, placing her hand briefly on his arm. "Trust yourself," she whispered. "Trust what you know is right." The first illusion appeared before him. A scene of human soldiers in conflict on a distant planet, lives lost in errors of judgment and miscommunication. The screams and chaos were vivid, and Marcus felt the weight of guilt that these visions tried to impose. But he countered it with reason. Humans were capable of mistakes, yes, but also capable of learning, adapting, and creating solutions. He envisioned how strategies, diplomacy, and quick thinking had saved countless lives throughout history. With each step forward, he reaffirmed his belief that humanity's strength lay in its resilience. The next illusion showed political betrayals, alliances broken, deals gone wrong, civilizations destabilized. Marcus felt the chill of fear, imagining the consequences if humans were untrustworthy in Zytheria. Yet he reminded himself of the alliances he had helped build in the colonies, the careful negotiations that prevented conflict, and the loyalty he had demonstrated to Lyra and her people. Each vision challenged him, but he moved forward, grounding himself in truth and integrity. Illusions of natural disasters followed, portraying humans failing to protect environments or civilizations from harm. Marcus recalled the solutions he had helped implement in the outer colonies, engineering projects, crisis management, and coordination that saved lives and resources. He realized that the Queen's test was not meant to break him with fear, but to see whether he could maintain clarity, courage, and hope even when confronted with humanity's worst. Hours seemed to pass as Marcus continued through the Hall of Illusions. Each step required focus, courage, and unwavering belief in the principles that had guided him. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind, reminding him that their partnership, their bond, was a source of strength. He visualized her guidance and support, allowing him to navigate each challenge with a steady mind. Finally, the hall began to change. The illusions shifted from depictions of failure to visions of success. Humans innovating solutions, saving lives, and forming alliances across species. Marcus could see his own contributions, small but meaningful, reflected in these visions. He recognized that the test was not to show perfection but resilience, the ability to learn, adapt, and overcome. When the Hall of Illusions faded, Marcus found himself standing before the Queen once more. Her expression had softened slightly, though her eyes remained sharp. "You have faced the visions and maintained your composure," she said. "You understand that humans are fallible, yet capable of greatness. This is the first step. Your loyalty and judgment are not in question, but the next challenge will test the practical application of these qualities." Lyra stepped forward. "What is the next challenge, Mother?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. The Queen's gaze shifted between them. "A rebellion has begun in one of the outer colonies. Factions opposed to your union have incited unrest, threatening both resources and lives. Marcus, you will lead the effort to resolve this crisis, demonstrating your ability to act decisively under pressure while upholding ethics and wisdom. Lyra will assist you, ensuring that your actions respect our people and traditions. Marcus's mind raced. He had already dealt with minor uprisings, but this would be different. The rebellion was fueled by political tension, fear, and misinformation. To succeed, he would need strategy, diplomacy, and the ability to inspire trust. He turned to Lyra. "We will handle this together," he said. "We cannot fail." Within hours, they arrived at the colony. Marcus assessed the situation quickly. A faction of miners had seized control of the central energy hub, threatening to cut off power to multiple settlements. Tensions ran high, and the local population feared violence. Marcus and Lyra moved carefully, demonstrating authority without aggression. Marcus coordinated human and Zythurian resources to repair damaged systems and secure essential infrastructure, while Lyra engaged the local leaders, mediating disputes and addressing grievances. The rebels were not willing to surrender easily. Marcus used a combination of negotiation, strategic planning, and careful risk management. He proposed solutions that addressed the underlying causes of unrest, resource shortages, miscommunication, and fear of political marginalization. Lyra ensured that cultural norms were respected, preventing alienation or resentment among the population. Together, they formed a plan that balanced firmness with compassion, authority with understanding. Over the course of several days, Marcus and Lyra implemented their strategy. They coordinated repairs, redistributed resources fairly, and addressed concerns with transparency. The rebels, seeing that their grievances were acknowledged and solutions implemented, began to cooperate rather than resist. Marcus used his knowledge of human negotiation techniques, empathy, listening, and compromise, while Lyra applied her understanding of Zythurian social dynamics. The combination proved effective, gradually restoring stability to the colony. As the crisis subsided, the local population expressed gratitude. Leaders who had initially doubted Marcus and Lyra now acknowledged their competence and fairness. Marcus realized that this demonstration was not merely about suppressing rebellion. It was about proving that their partnership, human and Zythurian, could strengthen the empire. The Queen's test was designed to push him to his limits, and he had not only endured but succeeded. Returning to the palace, Marcus and Lyra reflected on their actions. "We have shown that cooperation works," Marcus said, "that humans can act with integrity even under pressure, and that our combined approach can resolve complex problems." Lyra nodded. "And we have also demonstrated that our bond is more than personal. It is a source of strength for the empire. The Queen will see that our union is valuable, not dangerous." The Queen awaited them in the throne room. She studied Marcus closely, observing his posture, expression, and demeanor. "You have navigated the challenges with skill and prudence," she said. "You have demonstrated loyalty, courage, and wisdom. Yet remember, the trials are not over. The galaxy is vast and challenges will continue to arise. You must always be prepared." Marcus bowed respectfully. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will continue to act with integrity and honor for Lyra, for your empire, and for humanity." The Queen's eyes softened for a brief moment, a rare acknowledgement of approval. "See that you do. The next steps will test not only your skill but the depth of your partnership. You have performed well, but greatness requires consistency and foresight." As they left the throne room, Marcus felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. The test had been grueling, but it had strengthened his confidence and validated his approach. He also felt closer to Lyra, knowing that they could face immense pressure together and emerge victorious. That night, as they walked through the glowing gardens, Marcus reflected on the day's events. The Queen's trials were not merely about proving individual ability. They were about demonstrating resilience, cooperation, and ethical leadership. Humans had often been underestimated by alien civilizations, but Marcus realized that their strength lay not in brute force or technology alone, but in the combination of ingenuity, empathy, and courage. Lyra squeezed his hand. "We are ready for whatever comes next," she said. "And we will face it together no matter the challenge," Marcus smiled. "Yes, together." In the quiet of the luminescent gardens, surrounded by alien flora and the soft hum of palace energy, Marcus and Lyra found a moment of calm. The trials would continue, and the Queen's scrutiny was far from over, but they had proven something vital, that their partnership was resilient, that human qualities could be a force for good, and that love, trust, and courage could bridge the gap between worlds. The stars above Zytheria twinkled, distant yet familiar, reminding Marcus that the universe was vast, full of challenges and opportunities. And in this vastness, he and Lyra had found strength in each other, a bond that could withstand the tests of an empire. The first great trial had been passed, and the future, though uncertain, was theirs to shape. The morning sun had barely risen over Zythuria's vast crystal spires when Marcus and Lyra received urgent messages from multiple outer colonies. Tension was mounting across the empire. Several factions opposed to their marriage had begun mobilizing, inciting unrest and disrupting trade routes. While Marcus had successfully handled smaller crises before, the scale of this new challenge was unprecedented. He knew that the Queen's tests were escalating, and this time the stakes would affect not only their reputation but the stability of the empire itself. Lyra stood beside him, her calm presence a steadying force. "We must act quickly," she said. "These factions are organized. If we wait too long, the unrest will spread, and we could lose the colonies before we even arrive." Marcus nodded, already calculating possible strategies. "We need to coordinate human and Zythurian forces. Diplomacy alone will not suffice, but neither can brute force. We have to find a balance." Together, they called upon loyal ministers, military commanders, and engineers. Marcus proposed a plan that combined human tactical improvisation with Zythurian technology and intelligence networks. They would split into multiple teams, each addressing a different colony, while maintaining centralized coordination to ensure consistency and effectiveness. Lyra oversaw the distribution of tasks, carefully considering each leader's strengths and the cultural nuances of the people involved. Their first destination was a mining colony on the edge of the empire, where tensions were highest. A faction of miners had seized control of resource shipments, threatening to destabilize food and energy supplies across nearby settlements. As Marcus and Lyra arrived, the colony buzzed with anxious energy. Citizens peered from windows, unsure whether these outsiders, human and Zythurian, would bring solutions or more chaos. Marcus assessed the situation. "We need to secure the supply routes and prevent violence," he said. "At the same time, we must address the miners' concerns so they feel heard and included in the solution." Lyra stepped forward to speak with local leaders. Her knowledge of Zythurian social protocols allowed her to ease fears, and her calm, confident manner inspired trust. Marcus coordinated the technical side, rerouting energy supplies, repairing damaged systems, and implementing measures to prevent sabotage. His human approach of direct observation, rapid problem-solving, and logical planning complemented Lyra's diplomatic skill. Over several days, they worked tirelessly. Marcus led repair teams, teaching local engineers quick methods to stabilize infrastructure. Lyra mediated negotiations between factions, ensuring fair agreements and compromise solutions. Slowly, the tension began to ease. Miners who had initially resisted now participated in rebuilding efforts, recognizing that their grievances were being addressed and that cooperation was more effective than conflict. Meanwhile, reports from other colonies indicated rising unrest. Trade routes were disrupted, and misinformation spread rapidly. Marcus and Lyra realized that isolated successes were not enough. They needed a coordinated demonstration of leadership that could inspire confidence across the empire. Using advanced communication arrays, they organized simultaneous initiatives, repairing critical infrastructure, distributing essential supplies, and holding public forums to address citizen concerns. These forums allowed Marcus to explain human problem-solving methods, emphasizing collaboration and ethical decision-making, while Lyra provided context about Zythurian governance and tradition. In one settlement, a water purification system had failed, threatening both humans and Zythurians alike. Marcus quickly calculated a temporary solution, combining human engineering principles with Zythurian energy manipulation to purify the water supply efficiently. Lyra coordinated local volunteers, ensuring safety protocols were observed and that cultural norms were respected. By the end of the day, water flowed once more, and citizens expressed gratitude for their decisive action. The effectiveness of their combined approach was becoming increasingly apparent. As they continued their journey, they faced more complex challenges. A small fleet of rogue ships, loyal to the anti-Union factions, attempted to block trade routes essential for food and energy distribution. Marcus analyzed their tactics, predicting likely moves based on patterns and probabilities, while Lyra coordinated defenses with local fleets. Together, they organized a strategy that neutralized the threat without unnecessary confrontation, capturing the rogue leaders and securing trade lines. Their actions not only stabilized the colonies, but also demonstrated to the population that Marcus and Lyra's leadership was competent, fair, and reliable. Even as they solved these problems, Marcus and Lyra remained aware that the Queen was watching. Every decision, every action was a test. The Queen did not simply want them to act effectively. She wanted to see whether they could maintain integrity, make ethical choices under pressure, and strengthen the empire while preserving their partnership. Marcus knew that missteps could be exploited by rivals or misinterpreted by the Queen herself. One evening, as they reviewed reports from the colonies, Lyra spoke quietly. "Marcus, the Queen's trials are not over. She is assessing more than just skill. She is observing leadership, judgment, and loyalty. We cannot afford shortcuts or compromises in principle." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "I understand. We have to think ahead, anticipate problems, and address them proactively. The colonies are watching, the factions are watching, and the Queen is watching. We cannot fail, not for ourselves, but for the people who depend on us." The next challenge came in the form of a sudden natural disaster. A minor asteroid had struck one of the agricultural colonies, damaging food storage facilities and threatening the supply of essential resources. Marcus immediately assessed the situation, calculating the safest way to repair the structures and distribute resources without causing panic. Lyra coordinated emergency teams, ensuring that citizens were evacuated safely and that their concerns were addressed respectfully. Their combined approach worked quickly. Food storage was restored, resources were rationed effectively, and local leadership was empowered to manage the situation long-term. News of their success spread rapidly through the empire, inspiring confidence and demonstrating that a human and a Zythurian working together could solve problems beyond the capacity of either alone. Even as the empire stabilized, Marcus and Lyra encountered political intrigue. Rival factions attempted to sow dissent, spreading rumors that Marcus was overstepping his role or that the marriage was weakening Zythurian traditions. Marcus faced these challenges with careful diplomacy, engaging leaders in private discussions, presenting evidence of his actions, and demonstrating that his loyalty was to Lyra and to the well-being of the empire. Lyra supported him, using her influence to reaffirm trust and uphold cultural expectations while subtly promoting innovation and problem-solving. The culmination of their efforts occurred during a coordinated demonstration of unity and leadership across multiple colonies. Marcus and Lyra orchestrated simultaneous initiatives, repairing critical infrastructure, resolving disputes, distributing essential resources, and ensuring fair representation in decision-making processes. Citizens, seeing tangible results and ethical leadership, began to rally behind them. Even the most skeptical factions acknowledged the effectiveness of their approach. Back at the palace, the Queen observed all these developments through her vast surveillance network. She watched as Marcus and Lyra faced each challenge with courage, intelligence, and integrity. The Queen had expected competence, but she had not anticipated the strength of their partnership or the profound impact of their human-Zythurian collaboration. Her advisors, once vocal in their opposition, now acknowledged the effectiveness of their leadership, though the Queen remained cautious, knowing that future tests could still challenge them. Despite the victories, Marcus and Lyra remained vigilant. They knew that stability could be fleeting, that new challenges could arise at any moment, and that their actions were always scrutinized. Yet, they also recognized the power of their bond and the effectiveness of their combined approach. Humans and Zythurians had different strengths, and when applied together with mutual respect and clear communication, they could overcome obstacles that neither could face alone. At the end of the day, Marcus and Lyra returned to the palace gardens. The glowing flora, the soft hum of energy from the palace walls, and the quiet rustle of alien leaves created a sense of calm after the intensity of the day. Marcus sat on a smooth stone bench, exhausted but satisfied. Lyra joined him, her expression gentle yet determined. "We have shown that our union is not a weakness. We have proven that together we can face any challenge, adapt, and succeed. The Queen will see this and the Empire will recognize it." Marcus nodded. "Yes. Every action, every decision has demonstrated our commitment, not just to each other, but to the people who depend on us. We have turned challenges into opportunities and fear into confidence. This is more than a test of loyalty. It is a proof of the value humans can bring to an advanced civilization." They sat in silence for a while, reflecting on the day's events and the journey that lay ahead. Marcus felt a profound sense of purpose. The trials were far from over, but they had demonstrated resilience, competence, and leadership. More importantly, they had strengthened their bond, proving that their partnership could withstand scrutiny, danger, and political pressure. As the twin moons of Zythuria rose in the sky, casting silver light across the palace gardens, Marcus and Lyra stood together. The challenges had been immense, yet they had navigated them with courage, intelligence, and integrity. The Queen's tests would continue, but they were ready. They had proven that human qualities, ingenuity, empathy, courage, and adaptability could be a powerful force for good, even in the most advanced alien civilizations. And in that quiet, glowing garden, surrounded by the hum of the palace and the distant stars, Marcus and Lyra understood something profound. Their partnership was not just a personal bond. It was a symbol of unity, strength, and hope. Together they could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and shape the future of an empire. The Queen may have designed the trials to test them, but they had discovered something even more powerful. The true measure of their strength lay in each other. The palace was unusually quiet that morning. The soft hum of energy from the walls filled the vast corridors, but the usual chatter of advisors and officials was absent. Marcus felt the tension immediately. He knew the final trial was approaching. Every success in the colonies, every act of leadership, every demonstration of loyalty and competence had led to this moment. Now, the Queen herself would deliver judgment. Lyra stood beside him, her calm demeanor a source of steady reassurance. "Today will determine the future," she said softly, "but we have done all we could. We are ready." Marcus took a deep breath. "I have faith, Lyra. We face this together, and no matter the outcome, we have proven our worth. They walked together to the throne room. The massive doors parted silently, revealing the queen seated upon her crystal throne. The chamber gleamed with light, reflecting off the walls in 1,000 patterns. Advisors lined the sides, their expressions solemn. Marcus and Lyra approached, their steps measured and deliberate. "Marcus," the queen began, her voice calm but filled with authority, "you have faced visions of human failure, unrest in the colonies, natural disasters, and political challenges. You have demonstrated resilience, judgment, and loyalty. Your actions have affected the lives of thousands, yet you have maintained integrity and compassion." She paused, her piercing gaze sweeping over both of them. "Lyra, you have guided, supported, and strengthened him. Together, you have shown the power of partnership across species and culture." Marcus bowed respectfully, feeling the weight of her words. "Your Majesty, it has been our honor to serve and protect the Empire." The queen leaned forward slightly. "Yet, words alone cannot resolve the greatest question. The final test is this. A coalition of dissenting colonies has risen, unwilling to accept your union. They have formed an alliance with rogue fleets and are prepared to challenge Zythuria's authority. Their actions could spark a war, destabilize the empire, and cause immense suffering. Marcus, you must negotiate peace, prevent bloodshed, and unify these factions under a shared vision. Lyra will assist you, ensuring cultural traditions and values are respected." Marcus felt a surge of determination. This was the ultimate test, not just of skill, but of diplomacy, leadership, and ethical judgment. He nodded firmly. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will do everything in my power to prevent conflict and find a solution." The queen's expression softened, almost imperceptibly. "See that you do. The galaxy watches, and the stability of Zythuria may rest in your hands." Marcus and Lyra prepared immediately. Using the palace's advanced communication networks, they reached out to the dissenting colonies, requesting an audience. They emphasized transparency, fairness, and mutual respect, promising to listen to grievances and seek common ground. Their first challenge was a remote mining colony where resentment ran deep. A faction of miners had taken control of energy supplies and threatened to block trade routes. Marcus and Lyra arrived together, projecting calm authority. Marcus addressed the miners directly, speaking in clear, reasoned terms. "We understand your concerns," he said. "We know that trust must be earned and that your voices matter. Let us work together to find solutions that protect your livelihoods and the well-being of the Empire." Lyra followed, speaking to the local leaders in their native dialect, ensuring that cultural protocols were observed. Her words reassured the population that their traditions were valued and respected. Slowly, the tension began to ease. Marcus coordinated technical solutions, restoring energy flows and providing fair distribution, while Lyra mediated discussions, addressing grievances and proposing compromise solutions. In another colony, the challenge was more complex. Rogue fleets patrolled trade routes, and leaders were skeptical of Marcus's intentions. He requested a meeting aboard a neutral station, where he and Lyra could address the coalition directly. As they arrived, they faced suspicion, tension, and the lingering threat of sabotage. Marcus's mind worked quickly. He emphasized cooperation, highlighted previous successes, and presented a plan that balanced security with autonomy. Lyra addressed concerns about tradition and culture, showing that their approach respected both human ingenuity and Zythurian heritage. The coalition was hesitant, but Marcus and Lyra's combined logic, empathy, and integrity began to win trust. Each action reinforced the idea that conflict could be avoided through dialogue and mutual respect. Marcus demonstrated flexibility, adapting solutions to local conditions while maintaining fairness, while Lyra's understanding of Zythurian social norms ensured that no cultural lines were crossed. The final negotiation took place in the Central Council chamber, a vast space where representatives from each dissenting colony gathered. Marcus began by acknowledging past mistakes, showing that he understood the fears and concerns of the coalition. He emphasized that the human-Zythurian partnership with Lyra was not a threat, but an opportunity to strengthen the empire and improve the lives of all citizens. Lyra added her perspective, highlighting the ways they had already addressed grievances, stabilized infrastructure, and improved communication between colonies. She spoke with clarity, confidence, and warmth, earning respect from even the most skeptical leaders. Together, Marcus and Lyra outlined a vision of unity, cooperation, and shared governance that balanced autonomy with collective responsibility. Negotiations lasted for hours. Arguments arose, old rivalries threatened to resurface, and tensions flared. Marcus remained calm, carefully analyzing each point, proposing fair compromises, and ensuring that every voice was heard. Lyra mediated cultural concerns, reinforcing trust and demonstrating respect for each colony's traditions. Slowly, the coalition began to see the value of their approach. By the end of the day, the coalition agreed to a formal alliance under Marcus and Lyra's guidance. Trade routes were secured, energy supplies stabilized, and local leadership was empowered to manage their communities while participating in shared governance. Marcus realized that this was more than just a political victory. It was proof that human qualities, empathy, ingenuity, courage, and adaptability could unify even the most diverse civilizations. Returning to Zythuria, Marcus and Lyra were met with a mixture of awe and relief. The queen awaited them in the throne room, her advisors observing silently. Marcus bowed, Lyra standing proudly beside him. "You have succeeded where many believed failure inevitable," the queen said. Her voice was calm but carried immense authority. "You have prevented war, restored stability, and unified dissenting factions. You have demonstrated loyalty, wisdom, and courage beyond expectation. Your partnership has strengthened the empire, not threatened it." Marcus felt a wave of relief, but he remained composed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We acted with integrity and respect for your people. Our goal was always to serve the empire and to ensure that your daughter's future and our shared future remained secure." The queen studied them for a moment, her gaze sharp and assessing. Then she spoke words that Marcus had feared but hoped for simultaneously. "Marcus, Lyra, I see now that my fears were unfounded. You have proven yourselves in thought, action, and partnership. My daughter is fortunate to have found someone who complements her strength, wisdom, and courage. You have my blessing." Relief washed over Marcus, but he remained respectful. "Your Majesty, it is an honor beyond words to receive your trust." Lyra stepped forward, smiling at her mother. "Thank you, Mother. We will continue to serve, to protect, and to lead with integrity." The queen's expression softened, almost imperceptibly. "I have watched, assessed, and learned. I have seen that humans, when guided by principles and loyalty, can be a force for good. Marcus, your presence has proven that trust and cooperation across species are not only possible but essential for the strength of the empire." As the formal audience concluded, Marcus and Lyra left the throne room together. The palace felt lighter somehow, the tension that had defined the past weeks dissipating. Citizens, ministers, and advisors acknowledged their success, not only as leaders but as symbols of unity and progress. That evening, in the palace gardens, Marcus and Lyra reflected on their journey. The glowing flora, the soft hum of energy, and the shimmering light created a sense of serenity. "We did it," Lyra said quietly, taking his hand. "We faced the trials, the challenges, and the tests, and we came through together." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of everything they had endured. "Yes, and more than that, we have shown that humans can rise to greatness, even in worlds that underestimate us. Our partnership, our trust, and our actions have made a difference." Lyra smiled. The queen may have tested us, but it was not just a test of skill. It was a test of our hearts, our integrity, and our bond, and we passed. Marcus squeezed her hand. Together, we are stronger than any trial, any challenge, and any fear. We have proven ourselves, not just to the queen, but to the entire empire. As the twin moons of Zytheria rose in the sky, casting silver light across the gardens, Marcus and Lyra stood side by side, united in purpose, love, and strength. The trials had been immense, the challenges daunting, but they had faced them with courage, wisdom, and unwavering commitment to each other and the people they served. The queen's judgment had been delivered, and the empire recognized the value of their union. Marcus and Lyra had proven that human ingenuity, empathy, and resilience could complement Zythurian tradition, creating a partnership capable of achieving greatness across worlds. In that quiet, luminescent garden, surrounded by the hum of palace energy and the distant stars, Marcus and Lyra understood the profound truth of their journey. Strength lies not in fear or authority, but in trust, integrity, and cooperation. Together, they had not only secured their future, but also set a precedent for unity, respect, and collaboration that would endure for generations. And as they stood beneath the glowing flora, hand in hand, Marcus knew one thing with certainty. No matter what challenges awaited them in the galaxy, together they could face anything. The trials of the Queen had tested them, shaped them, and ultimately strengthened them. Their bond, their courage, and their shared vision had triumphed, proving that humans, guided by love, integrity, and wisdom, could achieve greatness in the stars. The empire was safe, the people were united, and the future was bright. And in that moment, Marcus and Lyra felt a deep, unshakable certainty. They were not just survivors of trials, they were architects of a new era of trust, cooperation, and hope.